The sky above Zealar Prime was quiet. Only the twin moons shone over the dark purple mountains. It was a peaceful night, until a loud boom broke the silence. A bright light shot across the sky. It moved fast, crashing through the clouds. Locals looked up. A small escape pod, burning and spinning, was falling from space. The pod hit the edge of the great junk wastelands near the old ruins. A shockwave of dust blew into the air. In the city, alarms rang. Soldiers were alerted. The High Council feared it was a human weapon, or worse. Solari, a tall Zalarian woman with silver skin and glowing blue eyes, was already on her way. She was a trained medic and warrior. The Council trusted her to handle strange situations. She arrived first at the crash site, her boots stepping over broken metal and burning wires. The pod was in bad shape, half buried, torn, and sparking. But then she heard something. A small, soft sound. She paused. Her sharp ears caught it again. A child, crying. Solari pushed through the wreckage, heart beating faster. Her fingers pulled. Away a broken panel, and inside she saw them. A human male, unconscious, bloody, but breathing. And next to him a little girl. Her skin was pale violet. Her eyes glowed a soft pink. She had long, tangled silver hair. And she was clearly part Zalarian, and part human. The child looked at Solari with wide, terrified eyes. She didn't speak. She just reached out and grabbed the man's shirt. Then she cried, "Daddy, wake up!" Solari froze. "Daddy?" She gently stepped inside the pod, careful not to frighten the child. "It's okay," Solari said softly. "You are safe now." But the child didn't let go of the man. Her small body shook as she cried, harder. "Don't take him. Please. Don't hurt my daddy." Solari's heart twisted. The man was badly injured. Bruised ribs, burned arm, and possible head trauma. But somehow he had wrapped his arm protectively around the girl even while unconscious. This wasn't just a human and a test subject. This was a father and daughter. Solari whispered into her communicator. "Get medical teams here. Now." Back, at the medical center, the human man was stabilized. His name, according to the ID chip, was David Corrin, ex-space pilot. Last seen during a battle months ago. Everyone thought he was dead. Now he had returned, with a child no one could explain. Solari watched through the glass as David lay on the bed. The girl sat beside him, holding his hand tightly. Her name, written on her bracelet, was Luna. Solari had seen many things in her life. Blood, war, pain, but never this. This bond. The child refused to eat, drink, or sleep unless David was near. Even when doctors checked her, she growled like a wild animal if they touched him. "She's dangerous," one guard said. "Look at her eyes, that glow isn't normal." But Solari shook her head. "No, she's scared, and she's protecting the only person she knows." Later that night, David stirred. His eyes opened slowly. The first thing he saw was Luna. She smiled through tears. "Daddy." He reached for her weakly. "Luna, you're safe." Solari stepped into the room. David looked at her, alert now. "Where are we?" "You're on Zealar Prime," she said. "I am Solari. I found your pod. You're lucky to be alive." David didn't thank her. He looked around, his hand gripping Luna's. "Are we prisoners?" "No," Solari said. "But we have questions." David didn't answer. Solari tried again. "That child. She called you her father." He nodded slowly. "Because I am." "But she is not fully human." "I know," he said, tired. "And I don't care." Solari was quiet. "Where did you find her?" she finally asked. David looked at Luna, then back at Solari. "I didn't find her," he said. "I saved her." Solari stood still, many thoughts in her mind. Why was a human running with a half-Zalarian child? Where was her mother? Was this child Born from love or an experiment? One thing was clear. The girl wasn't a threat, but someone, somewhere, would want her back, and they would come. Solari stepped out of the room, her heart heavy with questions. Behind her, the child curled up next to David and whispered, "Don't leave me, Daddy." Solari paused. For the first time in her life, she felt something strange. Not fear, not duty, but curiosity, and something else she couldn't name. Solari stood by the glass window, arms crossed, her silver eyes fixed on the man and child inside the recovery room. They were awake now. The man David sat up slowly despite his wounds. The child, Luna, was curled at his side, her small hand tightly gripping his. He hadn't said much. No answers, no explanations, just silence. Solari had faced battle-hardened criminals, broken scientists, and wild creatures from forgotten moons. But this human man, his quiet, stubborn calm, confused her more than any of them. And that child, half human, half Zolarian, impossible. Solari stepped inside the room again. The scent of medical gel and cooling circuits filled the air. David didn't look at her. His attention was only on Luna. She was asleep now, holding his jacket like it was her whole world. Solari spoke gently. We scanned her. David didn't react. She is part Zolarian, and very rare. No one has ever seen a hybrid like her. Still, he said nothing. Solari took a breath. Where did she come from? Silence. She tried again. Why does she call you father? He finally looked at her. His eyes were tired, guarded. Because I raised her. Because I fed her, protected her, sang to her when she cried. That's why? Solari blinked. She's not your blood, she said. David's voice turned cold. That doesn't matter. Solari sat on the edge of a chair, keeping her voice calm. The council will want answers. If she was born in a lab, if she's part of some weapon project, she's not a weapon, he cut in sharply. She's a child. Solari didn't argue. But inside, her thoughts raced. Why was this man running through the galaxy with a hybrid girl? Who created Luna? And what would happen if the wrong people found her? Later that day, Solari walked into the records lab. She handed Luna's blood sample to the techs and requested a deep DNA trace. The screen blinked. Several files were locked. Others were labeled, classified, genetic combine number 9. Where is combine? 9, Solari asked. The technician's face turned pale. It was destroyed in the Zolarian-human conflict. Years ago. Everyone thought the project failed. Solari's heart skipped. Project 9 was secret. A team of rogue scientists had tried mixing alien and human genes. The goal? To create a being that could survive any planet, any toxin, any war zone. They called it the Endling. All data was wiped. But now, one child had survived. Back at the room, Luna had woken up. Solari brought her food, a tray with warm fruit cubes, bread, and water. Luna looked at it, then at David. He nodded. It's okay, you can eat. She picked at the food, her hands small and unsure. But she ate slowly. Solari sat down, not too close. Luna, she said softly, do you remember your mother? Luna stopped chewing. Her eyes lowered. No, she whispered. Just Daddy. What about where you were before? A bad place, Luna said. Cold lights, sharp tools, people with no faces. Solari felt her chest tighten. And Daddy saved you? Luna smiled. He broke the wall. He carried me. He ran even when he was bleeding. David said nothing. Solari stared at him. You risked your life. Why? He looked at her, his eyes hard. Because she looked at me. Just once, and I knew. If I didn't take her, no one would. Solari left the room, heart heavy. She stepped outside into the cool night air. The moons were rising again. She remembered her own past. The academy. The war. The orders. Never get attached. Never question the mission. Never feel. But now, she Had just met a man who had broken every rule, for a child that wasn't even his. And somehow Solari couldn't stop thinking, is this what love looks like? That night, alarms blared, a message from orbit. Unknown ships had entered Zealer airspace, 3 of them, fast, silent, and flying the mark of Combine 9. They were coming, not for David, not for Solari, but for Luna, and they wouldn't stop until they had her. Inside the high-security biolab, cold blue lights glowed over glass walls and humming machines. The air was sterile, silent, except for the soft beeping of scanners and the steady thump of a digital heart monitor. Solari stood with her arms folded as the blood report loaded on the screen. She had requested a deep-level DNA analysis, something not done since the war. The technician looked nervous. This blood shouldn't exist. Solari raised an eyebrow. Explain. The screen blinked. Charts appeared. Symbols moved. The girl's blood was part human, part Zellarian, but there was something else too. A third sequence, hidden, locked, buried deep. What is that third code? Solari asked. The technician leaned in, voice low. It's ancient. Pre-Empire genetic markers, from before even Zellarians evolved. Into starfarers. Solari stared at the screen. Are you saying this child is carrying DNA older than our own history? He nodded slowly. And more than that, it's active. Solari walked back to the medical chamber in silence. Her boots echoed in the hallway. Inside, David was sitting on the edge of the bed, watching Luna sleep. Her tiny form was wrapped in a warm blanket. She looked peaceful, nothing like the being that had knocked out 2 armed guards with a scream. Solari entered quietly. She's stable? She asked. David nodded. Solari sat across from him, the data pad in her hand. I ran a blood trace. David didn't look surprised. What did you find? Something old, something dangerous, she said. That child is not just a hybrid, she might be unique in the galaxy. She's just Luna to me, he said. Solari frowned. You don't care who she really is? I care that she's alive, David replied. I care that she sleeps without crying, eats without fear, smiles when I smile. That's all. Solari studied him. But she was made, designed. David turned to her, eyes calm. So was every weapon in the war, but that doesn't mean she has to be used. Solari looked down at the datapad. The third DNA strand, she said. It's a match for something I've only seen in one place before. David tensed. Where? An old relic, in the Temple of Origins, a crystal that only certain beings can touch without being harmed. David shook his head. She's not touching anything. She's not going near temples or labs or vaults. You don't understand, Solari said. There's a prophecy, a child who will awaken the gate of all worlds, a child born of 2 races and blessed with the blood of the ancients. David gave a humorless laugh. And now you think Luna is some kind of chosen one? Solari didn't laugh, because deep down, she did. That night, Luna had a nightmare. She cried in her sleep, glowing faintly. The lights flickered. Machines shorted. David woke instantly and hugged her tight. It's okay, I'm here, he whispered. Solari stood at the doorway and watched. She saw how Luna buried her face in David's shirt. She saw the fear fade from the child's trembling body. She saw a father's comfort. It was not just protection, it was love. Real. Pure. Unbreakable. Solari had never known that. Later, Solari spoke to the council. She showed them the blood results. They argued. Some wanted Luna kept under guard. Others feared her power. One general shouted, "She's a threat to balance." Solari answered, "She's a child." But in the shadows, someone was listening. A masked figure left the council chamber, sending a message into deep space. Target confirmed. The Endling lives. Operation Retrieval begins. As the sun rose on Zealer Prime, David and Luna stepped outside for the first time. Luna looked up at the strange sky, her eyes wide. David knelt beside her. This is a new world, kiddo. Maybe it can be our home. Solari walked over, her face unreadable. "You don't believe in prophecies," she said to David. "I believe in Luna," he said. Solari looked at the child again, and for the first time, Luna reached out. She took Solari's hand. Solari felt a strange warmth in her chest. She didn't pull away. Maybe Luna's power wasn't just in her blood. Maybe it was in her heart. But far above the planet, warships began to move. They were coming, not to kill Luna, but to take her back. High above Zalar Prime, 3 black warships drifted in silent orbit. No lights, no signals, no flags. They weren't here for peace. Inside the lead vessel, a dark-robed commander stood before a glowing screen. His skin was pale green, his eyes covered by a metal visor. His voice was calm but cold. "The Endling has been confirmed. She is with a human male and a Zalarian female. Prepare the extraction team." An officer nearby hesitated. "Sir, the girl is only a child." The commander replied, "She is a key, and keys belong in vaults, not cradles." Back on the surface, Solari felt uneasy. She couldn't explain it, but something was wrong. David was packing supplies in the corner of the med chamber. He moved fast, sharp, like a soldier ready for battle. "Leaving already?" Solari asked. David looked up. "She needs to disappear before they find her." Solari stepped closer. "You think someone's coming?" He nodded. "I saw the signs before, silent skies, hidden signals, a ship just outside radar. That means one thing." Solari's eyes narrowed. "Black retrieval." David zipped his bag. "They won't knock. They'll take her. Or kill us both trying." Luna stood nearby, hugging a soft blanket. She watched them with big eyes. "Are we running again?" she asked. David knelt and smiled gently. "Just for a little while, Starshine." Solari felt a twist in her chest. How could a man care this deeply for a child that wasn't even his? But she also knew something else. They wouldn't make it far alone. She clenched her jaw. "I know a way out." Solari took them through the old tunnels under the city. Forgotten, roots from the war, now covered in vines and dust. As they walked, David spoke in a low voice. "Why are you helping us?" Solari didn't answer at first. Then she said, "Because she trusts you, and for some reason, she trusts me too." They moved through the winding tunnels until Solari suddenly stopped. She raised her hand. Silence. Then, a sharp buzz. David grabbed Luna and pulled her close. Solari pressed her ear to the tunnel wall. Footsteps. Metal boots. They had found them. "Run," Solari whispered. But it was too late. The wall behind them exploded inward. From the dust stepped black-armored soldiers. Their helmets glowed red. Their rifles buzzed with electric charge. One of them pointed at Luna. Target in sight. David fired first, pulling a compact plasma pistol from under his coat. 2 shots. One soldier fell. Solari joined him, spinning with a blade of light. She moved like a storm, fast, precise, deadly. Luna screamed, and something inside her awakened. Her body glowed. The air shook. A pulse of invisible energy burst from her skin, throwing the attackers back. Walls cracked. Lights shattered. Solari fell to her knees, staring at the child. By the stars, the tunnel was collapsing. David scooped up Luna. "We need to move." Solari led them into a side passage, smoke filling the air behind them. As they ran, she looked back once and saw the soldiers already getting up. One of them was still on the ground, his helmet cracked. He looked straight at Solari and whispered, "The Master wants her alive." "But you," he said, "you're optional." They made it to the cliffs by nightfall. The sky was stormy, the wind sharp. Below them was a deep canyon, and across it, a hidden cave where no radar could reach. David looked down. "It's a long way across." Solari checked the zipline launcher. "Then we'd better not miss." They strapped Luna in a carrier, held tight between them. Solari fired the line across the canyon. It stuck. She looked at David. "We go together," he nodded. They stepped off the cliff and flew into the night. Inside the cave, Luna was shaking. David wrapped her in his jacket, hugging her close. "It's okay. You were so brave." Solari knelt beside her. Luna looked up, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. It just happened." Solari took her hand gently. "You didn't hurt anyone, Luna. You protected us. But they'll keep coming," Luna whispered. David met Solari's eyes. "They won't stop." Solari said nothing. But inside, something had changed. She had been a warrior for the state, a servant of the system. But now she had seen something greater than orders. A father's love, a child's power, and maybe a future worth fighting for. Far above, the commander received the report. He stared at a recording of Luna's energy burst. He smiled behind his visor. "So, the gate is waking," he turned to his officers. "Prepare phase 2. We will take the girl, and we will burn anything in our way." The storm roared over the sky cliffs, where razor-sharp winds could cut a ship's hull, and the air was so thin even Zellarian wings could not fly. Yet here they were, David, Luna, and Solari, climbing the narrow path carved into the cliff's edge. Below them, the canyon stretched endlessly into purple clouds and lightning. Solari led the way, every step calculated. "We're almost to the top," she called back. David tightened his grip on Luna, strapped to his chest. "She's cold," he said. "We need shelter." "We'll find it," Solari replied. "But first we have to disappear." Behind them, distant echoes rumbled through the mountain range. Engines. The retrieval soldiers were coming, but worse. The airship scouts had been released. Machines with wings like blades and sensors tuned to track heartbeats. David knew them. He'd fought them before, and lost men to them. "We have 5 minutes," he said grimly. Solari looked up. "Then we climb faster." The wind howled, but they pushed on. At one point, a loose rock slipped under Solari's boot, and she stumbled. A single misstep here meant death. But David grabbed her wrist and pulled her back. Their eyes met. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "You saved me." He smirked. "Guess I'm not just a reckless human." "No," she said quietly. "You're more than I expected." They reached a narrow ledge near the peak, just wide enough to rest. A small crack in the stone revealed a hidden cave, shielded from sensors. Solari had used it once long ago during a failed mission. No one knew it still existed. They crawled inside. The walls were warm from underground vents. Luna stirred, whimpering, softly. "She's burning up," David said, feeling her forehead. Solari opened her satchel, pulling out old Zellarian herbs and glowroot paste. "This will help," she said, "if her body accepts it." Luna opened her eyes weakly and looked at Solari. "Will it taste bad?" Solari paused, then smiled. "Terrible." Luna giggled, just once, and it felt like sunlight in the dark. Outside, the storm hit hard. Lightning flashed across the sky. The first air scout arrived, buzzing like a demon bee. It scanned the cliff face but found nothing. Inside, David kept Luna close. She was stronger than before, the glow in her skin fading. Solari watched them, not as a soldier, but as something else. A protector, an aunt, maybe even a mother? No, she told herself. Don't feel. Don't get attached. But the bond between the human and the child was powerful, real, and it was pulling her in. Later, as Luna slept peacefully, David and Solari stood at the cave's mouth. "Why do they want her so badly?" Solari asked. David didn't look away from the storm. "Because she's hope, or fear, depending on who's holding the knife." "She's a child," Solari said. "She should be playing, not hiding." "She's more than that," David replied. "She's proof that two worlds can become one." Solari breathed deeply. "And what about you? What are you in all this? David looked at her, his voice steady. I'm just the man who promised her I'd never let go. Suddenly, a sharp hum filled the air. A second scout had found them. Its red light hit the cave. David pulled Luna behind him. Solari didn't hesitate. She leapt from the ledge, straight into the air, and drove her blade into the scout's side. Sparks flew. The machine twisted and screamed, crashing against the cliff, but the explosion cracked the ledge. The edge broke beneath Solari's feet. She fell. David dropped to the ground, arm outstretched. Solari. At the last second, her hand grabbed a vine root. He pulled with all his strength, gritting his teeth until she was safe again. She gasped, shaken, hair tangled, face bruised. David grinned. You fall a lot. Solari laughed, just once. And you catch me every time. They moved deeper into the cave, finding an ancient tunnel system, marked with old Zalarian runes. Solari touched one with her fingers. This symbol, she said softly, means shelter for the unworthy. They built this for warriors who had failed in battle. It was a place to hide. David looked down at Luna. Then maybe we're in the right place. We didn't ask to be heroes, we just want to survive. Solari turned to him. Maybe survival is the beginning of something greater. That night, as Luna slept between them, Solari whispered, You changed her life. David replied, She changed mine first. Solari looked at him, and for the first time since she was a child herself, she wondered, could this be what family feels like? But far above, deep in the enemy warship, the commander had already activated the next phase. He stared at the glowing map of the sky cliffs. They think they're safe, but they've only delayed the end. Deep in the ancient tunnels beneath the sky cliffs, soft lights from glowing moss lit the path. The air was warm, almost alive. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Solari walked ahead, silent. David followed, holding Luna, who slept lightly in his arms. They had been walking for hours, deeper into old Zalarian ruins, once forgotten by time. Suddenly, Solari stopped. This door, she said quietly, placing her hand on the carved stone. I've only seen this once in the Temple of Origins. David frowned. What is it? It's a gate. Not just physical, but genetic, she said. Only those with ancient blood can open it. She turned to Luna. Only she can enter. David stepped forward, protective. You think I'm just going to let her walk into some strange place alone? Solari didn't flinch. I'll go with her. You wait here. If something happens, she'll need someone who understands this world. David looked down at Luna's sleeping face. He hesitated, then nodded. The stone glowed as Luna touched it, even half asleep. The door opened with a low hum, and inside lay something no one alive had seen in 1,000 years. A memory chamber. The walls showed moving images, holograms of Zalarian history, ancient wars, and secret experiments. Symbols floated in the air. Solari held Luna's hand tightly as they stepped inside. Then a voice echoed around them, a female voice. Welcome, seed of both stars. Solari froze. It's an ancient AI, she whispered. Luna looked up, wide-eyed. Who's talking? The voice replied. You are the last result of Project Genesis. Your DNA contains threads from both humanity and Zealer, but also something older, something pre-galactic. Solari stared in shock. Project Genesis? She whispered. The AI continued. You were designed to survive any planet, adapt to any enemy, and link two broken species. But one genetic piece was required to complete you. The chamber glowed brighter. A figure appeared, a tall Zalarian man with piercing eyes. He wore the robes of a high commander. His face was cold. Familiar. Solari's. Heart dropped, she whispered, No. The AI confirmed. This man is Commander Vorak, Solari's former commander, and Luna's biological creator. Solari stumbled back. That's not possible. I never... But the AI answered before she could finish. Your DNA was taken. Without permission during your time in military service, you were never told. Luna is not just a product of war, She is your legacy. Solari fell to her knees. Luna looked up at her. You're my mom? Tears filled Solari's eyes. I didn't know, I swear to you, I didn't know. Outside the chamber, David paced. He heard the whisper of footsteps. He pulled his weapon, but it was Solari, carrying Luna, eyes filled with emotion. David saw the change immediately. What happened in there? Solari met his eyes. She's not just a child, she's a key, a symbol. She was made from war, but meant for peace. David stepped closer. What else? Solari took a breath. I'm her biological mother. David's face went pale. Then, he laughed. Just once. A shocked, broken laugh. I guess that makes me the world's weirdest stepdad. They sat together for a while in the dark. Luna curled up between them. She still calls you Daddy, Solari said softly. She always will, David replied. Solari looked at him. You raised her, protected her, taught her how to laugh. David nodded. She made me a better man. Then Solari asked the question that had haunted her since the chamber. Why didn't you try to make her yours? You could have used her. For power, money, even revenge. David looked at her, eyes firm. Because she's not a tool, she's my daughter, that's all. Far above, Commander Vorak watched the same chamber footage from his ship. His expression didn't change. So, she knows the truth now, he said. An officer beside him asked, Do we change the plan? Vorak stared at Luna's image, laughing, between her two guardians. Then he said, cold and sharp, No, we take the child and we erase the rest. A cold silence spread across the mountaintop. David stood just inside the ancient ruins, staring at the flickering firelight while Solari sat quietly beside him, her arms wrapped around Luna. The child was fast asleep, her breathing soft and peaceful. But even in sleep, her body glowed faintly, warm, alive, and full of hidden power. They all knew this moment of peace would not last. They all felt it in the wind. The storm was coming. Far above the cliffs, 3 massive shadows broke through the clouds. The Black Warden, Commander Vorak's personal ship, descended like a falling god. Dark and silent, it blocked out the stars. Inside, Commander Vorak stood straight and still. Send the retrieval team, he ordered. Alive, unharmed. The officer beside him asked. And the Guardians? Vorak's eyes narrowed. They are no longer needed. The mountain began to shake. David was the first to react. He dropped the canteen and drew his weapon. They're here. Solari stood slowly. Her face was calm, but her hands were shaking. They'll come through the ruins first, she said. They know she's in there. Luna stirred in her sleep. Daddy, she mumbled. David knelt beside her. Shh. I'm right here, Starshine. The air outside turned black as drop pods crashed into the snow. From them poured soldiers, dark armor, red visors, weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Solari watched them from a ledge. 30, maybe more. David glanced at her. We're not leaving without a fight, are we? She met his gaze. Not unless they take us in pieces. He nodded once. Then let's give them hell. The first wave attacked fast. David used every skill he had, plasma bursts, quick rolls, deadly aim. He fought like a soldier who had nothing left to lose, and everything to protect. Solari danced through the snow like a shadow, her glowing, blade slashing through armor and fire. She struck with elegance and fury, her movements guided not by training, but by purpose. They fought back to back, protecting the narrow cave where Luna hid. She sat curled behind a wall, hands pressed over, her ears, tears running down her cheeks. The ground shook with every blast. Please, she whispered. Stop fighting. Please. Then the air went still. The soldiers pulled back, and from the smoke, he appeared. Commander Vorak. Tall, regal, powerful. He didn't need a weapon. His voice was enough. Solari, he said, stepping forward. You were once my greatest student. You could be again. Solari stepped between him and the cave. You used me. You stole from me. I will never stand by your side. His eyes moved to the shadows. And the human? David stepped forward, wounded but still standing. I'm the man who raised her, who taught her how to be brave. Vorak looked amused. And what are you now? Her shield? No, David said calmly. I'm her father. Vorak didn't smile. She is mine by right, he said. Her blood is mine. Her purpose is mine. Step aside. Solari stood her ground. She's not a tool. She's not a prophecy. She's a little girl who laughs at bugs and sings off key. David raised his weapon again. You'll have to go through me. Vorak stepped forward, ready to strike, but then a voice stopped him. No. Luna walked out of the cave. Her small hands trembled, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. She walked between Solari and David and stood before Vorak. You made me? She asked softly. He nodded. Yes. I shaped you for greatness. She tilted, her head. But you never held me when I cried. You never told me stories. You never sang me to sleep. Vorak said nothing. Luna looked back at David. He did all those things. That makes him my dad. She turned to Solari. She held me when I was scared. That makes her my mom. She raised her hands and the wind itself answered. The energy inside her flared. The snow lifted. Time seemed to slow. She wasn't attacking. She was awakening. The prophecy wasn't about destruction. It was about choice. And Luna had chosen. A pulse of golden light exploded from her chest. The soldiers fell to their knees, blinded. Weapons shorted. Snow turned to soft petals. Vorak tried to move but couldn't. The light held him. Luna stepped closer to him, glowing like a small sun. You wanted to control me, she said, but I don't belong to you. She placed a hand on his chest. I forgive you, she whispered. Vorak collapsed, not dead, but defeated. The light faded, and the silence returned. Snow began to fall again, gently, peacefully. Solari ran to Luna and dropped to her knees. You were incredible, she said, tears in her eyes. David scooped her up. Starshine, are you okay? Luna nodded. I'm just tired. He held her tightly, never wanting to let go again. That night, a new fire burned in the ruins. Solari sat beside David and Luna lay curled between them. She chose us, Solari said softly. David smiled. Yeah, she did. Solari looked at him, voice quiet. She called you father. He looked down at Luna and brushed her hair gently. I didn't create her. I didn't plan any of this. He paused. But love doesn't need a reason. Solari nodded. No, it just needs a home. The warships left. Vorak never returned, and Luna? She grew up under two skies, with two protectors, one heart, and a name that echoed across both stars and soil. Not as an experiment, not as a weapon, but as a child born from choice, courage, and love.